Hi, Kate.
Hey everyone. So happy to see you here.
So great to have you. Thank you so much for coming. And I was just telling everyone how humble you are and that like you should
Oh.
hold more. Yeah, you see? Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. Oh, okay. So we're gonna start kicking that off. I would love to kind of, have as much time as possible. I'm not gonna be speaking much. It's really Kate's session, and Kate is gonna be sharing all of the great things with us. Thank you so much, everyone who's coming for the first, for the second, for the third time. I'm seeing some people in the chat. Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know how I deserve you, but I also hope every time you learn something new because that is the whole point. So, couple of words from me. You are on the session where we're going to be speaking about how you can approach, basically learn about the approach and learnings that Kate has gotten out of building her absolutely incredible portfolio that landed, as I said, in my inbox. And I was like, that was my candidate. Like, I knew that immediately. And that wasn't an easy search. And so, to be honest, after seeing thousands of portfolios, as you can imagine, especially when I was hiring for Miro, the bar was extremely high, right? And so we've seen some good work. And I just found it to be so incredibly inspiring that Kate didn't come from like a massive name or something like that. But the work was just how beautifully it was packaged and delivered and just put together. I absolutely love it. So I'm so excited. Kate, thank you so much for being so open to share that. And also, FYI, everyone, this is the first time Kate is really giving the presentation. So let us be very, very nice and make sure that we support her onboarding into the speaking career because I think that should continue. So as always, we're gonna start with the agenda and the house rules. So that is just a quick thing. Then Kate is gonna basically take over and share the approach. We're gonna have a couple of minutes that we're gonna dedicate to how to get inspired and get more inspiration into your work with the right tools. And then whatever is left is Q&A. Whatever we cannot answer right now, you can just put all the questions in the chat and we will continue making content that is answering your questions. So that is the big promise for me. Couple of rules. As always, mute your mic. Zoom does it for you. Be active, polite, and open-minded. So even if you don't like something, that's totally like, portfolio. What is portfolio? What is good portfolio? Well, there is good portfolio. Like I think there is, but also I want everyone to understand this is not anything that like against anyone's work. This is truly just to support you, to show you what lands, what converts, what works behind the closed doors. And I think that is important for us as the community to come together more often. If you ask a question, ask a clear question, right? So if you're like not sure what to ask, brainstorm with whatever tool, but just make sure it's clear so we can answer and have fun and learn, right? And we want to make sure that it is as fun as it can be. But I honestly like I'm doing it bi-weekly and I love it. Like I love seeing all of you. I love chatting with all of you. And I love when you also tell me who you are and what's happening. So let us all go into the board literally for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. I'm pinning it for everyone. FYI, it's on the top of the chat. And I just want to understand, like, how senior the people here, what are the roles? If there is not enough kind of, space, sometimes for someone it doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work sometimes, but if it doesn't work, just drop it in the chat in Zoom. I just like that kind of, it reminds me of the good times at Miro, even though that's not Miro, but it just brings me back to like the collaboration on the whiteboards. And so while you're doing all of these, I am so excited to start introducing Kate. I'm going to stop sharing because Kate is going to share herself. Kate, thank you so much for being here. Like, honestly, we appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I'm so excited to learn from you today. Take over the mic, and I'm here to support you whenever you need it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. So I guess I just need to give you a little bit of introduction about myself. So I'm a senior product designer, and currently I'm a founding designer at my startup. And I have, in general, like around 10 years of experience now. But again, as Lena mentioned, I'm not that much of a talker, so it's going to be a challenge for me. But really, I'm here because for me it was very difficult to build this portfolio. And I want to share my experience because if at least somebody will get some inspiration and will get some insight from it, I will be super happy about it. So let me share my screen. Yeah. So, and I guess I guess everyone can see it, right?
Yes, we can see it, Kate. Always great. Thank you so much.
Great. So, first of all, I would like to begin my story by giving you like a bit of context about the time when I actually started building my portfolio. And to tell you the truth, it was like one of the most difficult periods of my life. Because before that, I had a life that I was pretty happy with. I had job that I liked. I had like people I loved around me, and I have had like all these plans for the future. But then, just all at once, everything changed. My husband, our cat, and I, we had to quickly relocate to a new, different country where we had like absolutely nothing and knew no one. And I had to leave behind like my entire life, my family, my friends, my home, and like everything that I was planning to have. And so I also, at the same time, I had to like rebuild everything from scratch because I needed to learn even how basic, like very simple stuff work in this new country. I needed to adapt to new circumstances. I needed to find some new community, new friends, and somehow keep moving forward. But honestly, at that time, I was completely lost. And I was emotionally and mentally exhausted, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I actually realized that I felt that I had lost my entire identity at the time, and I didn't know how to find my way back to myself again. And I mean, it was definitely not the best condition to create something meaningful. But at the same time, I really knew that I had to work on my portfolio if I wanted to apply for jobs in this new market. And although I didn't have enough strength, energy, and even like mental capacity, I forced myself to do it. And I was pushing myself like way too hard. And I remember when I finally finished it, like I felt relieved, but it was not because I had created something I was like truly proud of, but because this torture had stopped. And I remember thinking like, okay, at least this part of this exhausting journey is over. But in reality, it was just the beginning because I started showing my portfolio to my close friends from IT so that they could give me their like honest feedback. And frankly, their feedback was brutal. I mean, of course, like everyone was trying to support me, telling that of course they could see like how much time and effort I invested into this portfolio. But their message was like crystal clear. This portfolio would not work and it would not convert into interviews. And right now, I just want you to share this like comprehensive picture of like just 2 pages from my portfolio. We will dive deeper into details later, but just right now, just for you to have this perspective, like what this portfolio looked like. So here you can see my homepage, where I put like 3 case studies, two of which were way too outdated. And this is like the cherry on top of the entire portfolio. It was like my case study page. And like, I mean, I will just scroll it down. So as you see, it's a very long one, and I'm still scrolling and I keep scrolling. And I mean, like 1 hour later, yeah, we finally reached the end of this. So I will just zoom out just for you to see like the entire scope of this disaster. So, I mean, it appeared that my friend's feedback actually it was true because I started applying for jobs and I kept getting rejected at the very like first initial screening stages, which means that I didn't even get a chance to show up for an interview and actually prove that I'm a good designer. So you can imagine my like emotional state at that time. I was absolutely devastated. I was crushed and I was full of self-doubt and my ego was severely wounded. And I was thinking like, I don't know what else to do because like I don't know how to improve it. I mean I had done my best. Like what else is left? And at some point, I actually started questioning whether I should stay in design at all. And I mean, it was that much pain inside of me at that time. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became for me that I didn't actually want to quit design. And I wanted to stay in design not because I had no other options, but because I genuinely love what I do. And I didn't want this fear and like all these self-doubts to take over and to stay in my way. So it became a turning point for me, and I started rethinking everything. So I researched dozens of product design portfolios. I saved like multiples of screenshots from like different portfolio sections. I gathered ideas, I analyzed patterns, and I tried to understand like what actually made portfolios work. And it was also the time when I joined a design community led by an amazing designer and one of the most beautiful souls I know, Anfisa Bogomolova. And she and her into UX design community became a truly safe space for me at that time. It was a source of inspiration, motivation, support, and knowledge about like all this job hunting and portfolio building strategy. And so this was when I started to understand what I had done wrong with my first portfolio. And this is actually what I would like to share with you today, my 5 honest mistakes that I made with my portfolio and how I reshaped the same project into a much stronger story. So let's start with the beginning. And my mistake number one, I forgot the like number one rule of any product designer. I forgot who I was building it for because I didn't think enough about the people who were reading my portfolio, like recruiters, hiring managers, lead designers. I was so focused on showing everything I had done instead of helping them quickly understand why my work mattered. And for some reason, I thought that I like every little detail was important. And I thought that if I left something out, I might lose an opportunity. But the reality was quite the opposite. I was losing these opportunities because I was saying too much and I was bearing the real value in this mess. And I mean, I started to understand that most hiring managers they will not spend more than like 2 minutes on your portfolio, and that is only if they like truly like what they see. But most likely, the first impression will happen in the very first 20 seconds. So if something feels like unclear, messy, too generic, difficult to scan, hiring managers will just move on. And I guess like while we're working on our portfolios, we always need to take to keep in mind the hiring manager's context because they're not just looking for candidates. They also have their own work. They have their own meetings, deadlines, responsibilities, and what they do not have is time. They don't have this extra time to spend on like looking through all the details in your portfolio. So if they have like 50, 100 portfolios to review, they will just like open each one of them, scan it quickly, and like within these 20 seconds, they will decide whether they are going, they keep going, or they will just close this page. So let's take a look at this intro. That was basically like the first section that everyone saw when they landed on my portfolio. So, I mean, what do we see here? Like a huge greeting, like, okay, like she seems friendly, it's nice, okay. And she's currently looking for a full-time position in the Netherlands. I mean, there is not much value for a hiring manager here. It doesn't give them any like information about like who I am as a designer. And that is where I wasted my first valuable 10 seconds. So I asked myself how I could make this easier to scan. So instead of forcing people to read the entire like this paragraph of text, trying to find like all these important details about me, I just made these like key points visible right away, like senior product designer, 8+ years of experience, B2B, B2C, SaaS, 0 to 1, based in Amsterdam. And so right away, hiring managers like could see whether my experience, what they were looking for or not. So kind of simple and easy, but it really helped. And okay, so let's assume that hiring managers are still kind of interested, or maybe like they're in a good mood and really want to give me a chance. So they keep scrolling and they see my second mistake. My case study previews were too generic and not engaging. So this was my first case study preview. And what actually did it tell hiring managers? I mean, almost nothing, except that they're already bored. Because like looking at it now, I'm honestly wondering like what I was thinking, because um, like the most prominent part of this preview is the name of the startup no one actually knew about, because it's not like some big name like, I don't know, Meta or Uber or Booking. It's just a new startup. And I also like added lots of these like buzzwords, which I personally hate, but for some reason I decided that my portfolio definitely needed to have these buzzwords like crafting an innovative solution, empowering users, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, of course, it sounds polished, but again, it doesn't say much. So, this preview didn't tell hiring managers what problem I solved, what was actually like challenging about it, and why this case study was worth opening. And just like that, I lost another valuable 10 seconds. So let me show how I decided to reframe it. I mean, like the same project, but with a new perspective and a more focused approach. So I definitely wanted this preview like to spark interest right away. So I added motion to the thumbnail to make this like preview feels like more engaging and like more inviting to be opened. And I also rewrote the case study title to make hiring managers curious enough to click. So instead of like time book, project management app, blah, 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 I made it like building a task card that works for everyone from 0 to 1, crafting a flexible, scalable, and intuitive task card for a productivity tool. So ideally, a strong case study title should communicate the subject of the project, the impact, and an intriguing challenge that makes people want to read the full story. And I mean, of course, like creating this title is a challenge in itself, but I really encourage you to spend some extra time and pay some extra attention to it, because still everyone judges a book by its cover. And if the cover feels mediocre and the blurb sounds boring, hiring managers may never discover how good the story actually is. So at this point, I'm actually kind of relieved that most of hiring managers had already dropped off, because it saved me from even further embarrassment if they had seen my third mistake, which is I tried to show everything, everywhere, all at once. I thought that one case study should equal one company I had worked with. And I mean, please don't ask me why and where this idea came from, but it just stuck in my head. So I literally like took several years of work for a complex task management app and tried to fit them into one short case study. And I mean, we have seen at the very beginning of the speech, like this short case study, because, like, I mean, it became the size of the entire Harry Potter series, but it was definitely not as engaging. So let's just take a look at the very beginning of this case study, which was like basically the context I set before actually diving deeper into the case itself. So what we see here, um, kind of a tiny visual, which actually doesn't say much even about my craft and UI skills because it's almost like impossible to see. Again, super uninteresting title because again, it's just the name of a startup no one knows. And then like the project bio that takes up too much space. Team and my role description, which were like way too excessive and absolutely unnecessary. And then the problem context and problem statement, which at that time I truly believed were short and self-explanatory. And so, what did I change here? Like, first of all, I understood that I could not create a strong case study without focusing on one specific aspect of the project. So instead of trying to cover the entire project, I chose those features I was most excited to build. Features that brought me joy and gave me an interesting design challenge. So instead of one giant case study, I created two separate stories. And once I simplified the scope, the missing pieces started to fall into place. And it became much clearer what the story was really about. So let's see how I rearranged the same context part of this case study. I mean, instead of this, all of these. Like the context fit just into this like short section, basically like domain, timeline, my role, team, which everyone would be able to hover and to see like more information about my team, like very short context about the company itself. And then I also like posed this like problem context, making it like providing the most important information as a highlights so that it would be easily scannable and it would attract like more like extra attention by hiring managers to it. And this is how I reshaped like the original visual. So instead of this like tiny static image, I created an animation and I made it like way bigger, so that like everyone could see like all tiny details and basically like estimate my craft skills. And I also like added some playful animation here. I added these events like get invited to the interview, nail the interview, and get the dream job offer. I mean, I don't know whether everyone noticed it, but for me, it was super fun to build it. And I mean, I know that I left these events here on this preview image. And for me, it was really like cool and it just brought me joy. So I was kind of happy rebuilding it that way. Um, and so, I've already mentioned you that it became clearer for me what was story should be about, but what was actually the story I tried to tell in my first portfolio. And this story was basically like, look, I know the design process. And I even created like this interactive table of contents in my case study, which I thought was super smart because I was like, okay, I'm giving hiring managers this easy way to quickly scan through like all my case study sections and decide like what is the most interesting for them and where they would like to go first by clicking on this section. But I mean, it was just a report of a completely standard textbook design process. And there was absolutely nothing interesting enough for hiring managers to click on and explore. There was no story, no spark, no hook. And this was my mistake number 4. I was reporting the case study, not storytelling it. So again, I started thinking from the hiring manager's perspective. So they needed to quickly scan a case study and decide whether it is relevant to them or not. And how do you convey a story when people are only scanning? Through titles, visuals, and highlights. So I decided that my story should be understandable even without reading all the details, but just by reading the section titles only. So this is how like this old version convert into this one. So here are just a couple of examples of case study sections. So for example, this one is like a tiny story within a more bigger story about research insights and what was challenging about this feature we were building. So instead of just listing all these challenges and all these complexities, so I tried to make like first of all, I picked the most interesting insights, and I also tried to support them with some visuals to like give this immediate visual understanding what is going on here. So for example, here for visibility of task dependencies challenge, I showed like where actually this challenge came from. So we figure out that this is a problem based on our like interviews. And for example, for role-based permissions challenge, I showed these metrics of different roles and different actions that can be performed by these roles and how we needed to solve this. And here was the story about like me making the right choice for a task card layout. So here I showed the options, like my considerations, pros and cons, trade-offs, and eventually like how we came up to the final solution. And for example, this was a story about building an agenda feature, which was basically like bringing tasks and calendars and calendar into like one view. And the most interesting part, the insight from the interviews here was that still most of our interviewees relied on like this real world pattern, which were like paper notebooks in their like daily life. So we basically like built this feature around it, and I tried to like shape this story also around it. And I mean, like you will be able to see like more in my portfolio. It's available. It's publicly available, so you can learn like more about this like storytelling technique I used there. And now we are approaching like my final mistake for this talk, but definitely not the final mistake I made in my original portfolio. I hid the actual design thinking. So I showed a bunch of artifacts that were supposed to convince hiring managers that I was addressing like real user challenges and making data-driven decisions. But again, I was just reporting. So like I did this and that. And I mean, like, see here is like the competitor analysis. Here are the interview results, and here are the final designs. But by doing this, I missed the real value of the story. And this value was not like improving that I had done this research and created all these like polished designs. The most interesting part was these aha moments that came out of the research. The most interesting part was actually like in what happened in the middle. So how the solution evolved based on feedback, constraints, and new learnings. And while browsing other design portfolios, I found the one that really struck me. I immediately thought that this one is exactly like how I need to shape my design thinking in my portfolio. And here are the screenshots from Olivier Ifrach's case study, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And I mean, I was immediately fascinated by how like clean, clear, and self-explanatory these visuals were. And so this is how I took this pattern and applied it to my own case studies. And I mean, look at it. It's pretty much the same, right? So, like here, like the same pattern. So, version one, pros and cons, version two, pros and cons. So, showing your iteration, showing how you were solving from your solving the problem from the very initial drafts to the final solution. So I mean, I basically reused this pattern and I applied it to fit my own work. And I mean, actually, this is what we do all the time when we design features, because most problems have already been solved. And you don't need to reinvent everything from scratch all the time. You can just reuse proven patterns, but adapt them to your product and, I mean, in our case, portfolio context. So I really encourage you to study good portfolios, like reflect on them and ask yourself what makes this work, like what makes this portfolio memorable, what could work for your own story, and just spice it up like with your own personality. Because in my opinion, authenticity sells. It is what helps hiring managers remember you among hundreds of similar template portfolios. And so, to sum it up, eventually, like by reflecting on these mistakes, I'd like to show you like what happened with these 2 pages that I showed you at the very beginning of my speech. So here is the homepage. Uh, Here is a new introduction, and I left only like 2 case studies here, which were from the same project. And I also added some volunteer work because I wanted just to share a bit more about me as a person and like about my personality, about my values. And I also added testimonials, which I truly believe is kind of a very cool option and section for your homepage, because people are trying to find other people with whom they are going to work. So, like, they should definitely listen to those who have already worked with you, right? And this is the case study page. So this is how I reshaped it with this like storytelling technique, with like new visual support in this storytelling, and all these like highlights and points showing my actual like design thinking process. So way shorter and probably way smarter, I hope. So basically, I turned my initial portfolio like from something that no one would like to read to something that not only got me through all these like screening stages to the interviews, but also became a core part of how like Lena discovered me and how I landed my current job. But I guess that is definitely the story for another time. But just to wrap it up, um, I just want to say that looking back, I realized that my biggest mistake was not even about design. My biggest mistake was fear. Fear of being irrelevant, fear of not finding my place in this new European market, fear of not being able to compete with all these great designers from big companies. And nothing good can ever come from fear alone. And what helped me was turning this fear into curiosity. So instead of thinking like, I'm so scared, I'm afraid no one needs my skills and experience, no one is going to hire me, I started thinking, okay, it didn't work. And I guess I understand why. So let's try differently and see what happens. Because if you don't try, you have already lost. But if you do try, there is a good chance of winning. So I want to finish by reminding you, while going through this exhausting process of building your portfolio, like please treat yourself with kindness, be patient, stay curious, and never give up on yourself, because I truly believe that one day all of this will become a story you tell others, the story of how you built a portfolio that helped you land your current job. So that's all from my side.
Well, okay, thank you so much. I must tell you, I'm always like tearing down because you've inspired me so much and you are so right. And I'm sure it's speaking to so many people on so many levels. To me as well, I think we are all afraid. We are all doing things that scare us, and we all doing things that put us in the positions to be rejected and ghosted and be told that we not enough and we're not right. And I think especially designers, it's given by the job, right? To tell that that's not good enough. And I think I love that you're saying, like, finding something that makes you curious or finding something that inspires you in this process. Because I think being afraid is good. That means you're stretching yourself. Like, I look at
Yeah, yeah,
fear in the
yeah.
most positive way. But also, if you just being afraid, it's exhausting. It's anxiety, right? Like, we all have too much of it. So
It's true.
I love that you found a way to like just reposition it for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't a very easy part, but I mean, it definitely worth it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, look at yourself, right? Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you're here to
Thank
share
you.
all of that. I want to highlight a couple of the insights that I've learned from you because they really talk to me as like a recruiter, basically, like, as a person who is looking at a lot of portfolios. I really love that you said about the titles, right? Because we all need to remember it's like, think about case study like social media concept, like everyone is creating like better hooks, visual hooks, sound hooks, word hooks, because attention is currency and we all are poor. We don't pay attention. We don't, like nobody does. TikTok has trained us not to look at things, like just like process it within milliseconds. So I love that you're saying, like, as you were creating the titles, there were still like hooks for attention. And that is such a smart way to think about it. And there was a conversation in the chat, and I suggested, like, every time when you build a title for the case study and then the blurb, the explanation, try to explain it to a child. Like, make it really simple for a person to understand. Because sometimes when I read, I'm like, I don't get it. I do not get it. Like, I spend time and time and time. So that is very important. Then I also really love what you said about I love what you showed of the visuals of the iterations, right? So your sketches, the drawn sketches. I understand that everyone is going to be now like, oh, but is that like the bar? Guys, it is the bar. It is the bar. Because, like, you see, like, you have your sketches, and it's kind of like, well, it's drawn, it's simple, but it's like such a high quality execution of them, right? Like, it looks so beautiful. And that is why I always say don't add dirty visuals, because your clean case study becomes dirty. You downgrade yourself by showing like too many things from your actual workshops, from your actual sketching, from your actual iterations. So the way how you showed the iterations, like the ways to showcase it, was really, really good. And I also wrote something, but I cannot read it. So I guess I'm gonna I'll read it later. And the question that popped actually, and I want to come back to it. A person asked how you created those animations. Was it just Framer? Or was it Figma and Framer combination? Because you have a lot of moving pieces.
Well, it's a good question because I mean it was a long time ago, but as far as I remember, I just created it at Figma and I just converted it into GIF and that's it. But I mean, I haven't checked Framer for a while because I know that every designer should update their portfolio like all the time, but please show me, please raise your hands who do this because I never met any designer who does this on a regular basis. So I haven't checked Framer for a while. Probably there are like lots of different options how you create different visuals there. I mean, when I was building my portfolio, there were like already a huge like library of different patterns of different like animations for different portfolio sections. So, and I mean, right now we live in this AI era, so like I mean, everything is possible to create.
For sure. For sure. I love it. And yes, please do stay updated with your portfolio. That's what Emmanuel
Yes.
was saying on one of the sessions, that even though he got a job, he says, like, I still keep on like looking in it and improving it. And that is, it's like a journal. You have to journal every day. you know?
But I mean, Lena, you definitely need to make another session with someone who actually does it on a regular basis because I really want to learn how.
Ah, yeah.
Be- Because like you need to work all the time, and also you need to save some time for your personal life, and
I
somehow you also
know.
need to update your portfolio.
I
So
know.
I'm still struggling with it.
We need to do dedicated sessions like Framer like sponsor us, and we will teach people how to build on your website from time to time. Okay, I want to
Yeah.
give Sirin or Sirin, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, a space for a question, but then we're gonna go into the inspiration part, and then we're gonna go for questions. So don't worry, there is time. But yes, please, since there is a raise hand.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to answer the questions
Oh
about
yeah.
the animations because I recently redesigned my portfolio because it was years ago I had it in Behance, which doesn't make
Oh
sense anymore. So I did it
no,
like from scratch. So I had to learn Framer, and Framer is like amazing, guys, with animations and interactions. I'm also sharing my portfolio link if you want to check. Like I did all of these in Framer, and it's super super easy, and like there are millions of detailed different settings you can set, and it's crazy good, so I cannot suggest it enough actually, and
I
it's
love
free.
it. Did you manage to build it on the free tier?
Actually, yes, but the reason I wanted to get the minimum priced ones
Yeah,
later on was because I wanted to get rid of the little label made in
yeah,
framer thing to make it look
Mm,
more professional. And also, I had like a little video I wanted to use, and there is like a limit barrier of
yeah,
usage. It's just like personal preference. You don't have
yeah.
to, and there is also audience limits, like
yeah.
Mm.
one or like review limit, something like that. So, but it's very cheap. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, not sponsored, but should be
Yeah.
Framer. Let's talk
Yeah.
again. We did have a
And I
session with
mean,
Framer. Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to tell that I mean like in my case it was like free tier. When I built my
Mm.
portfolio, it was just free tier and I just recently updated it to like some I don't know, I don't remember, like probably the most the cheapest subscription just because of the bandwidth because like I had like lots of visitors for my portfolio. Yes. Which actually like so when there is this limit, so no one will be able to see this portfolio because like the page will be not accessible. So yeah, but I mean, even if you have this like dot framer in the name of your website and this like maiden framer element, it it doesn't. I mean, it will still work if your portfolio is cool. So no one will pay attention to these like tiny details.
I actually even want to say more. First of all, Kate, I should pay for your portfolio because I'm the person who will send all these people. And second of all, this like maiden framer, it's really funny that like we're talking about it because to be honest, like back in the days at Miro, like some of the best portfolios that I saw, they were all built in framer. And how I knew that because it said built in framer. And to be honest, in me, it developed like a positive bias. So when I saw that,
Mm,
like I immediately felt, oh, that's gonna be a good one. Because like, Framer has so much inside. So yeah, if you're wondering like should I pay and get rid of it, like don't worry about it at all. Like that's never gonna be it's never gonna decide anything, honestly, for you. So I love that we were speaking about inspirations a lot, right? Because you were touching based on that a lot as well. Like that you don't have to decide alone, you don't need to design alone, and you also don't need to
yeah.
redesign sometimes. Like honestly, guys, like if you were to take one of the insights for today, and I think that's what I couldn't read, like take this one. So like sometimes you just need to get inspired and make it yours, and that's what I think Kate does so well in her portfolio. She made it hers, but also some things, as you were like as you saw, were basically kind of inspired by others. And so I think this is why this is the third session that Mobbin so nicely sponsored. Because I believe like Mobbin is the product that is solving it. And to be honest, I didn't have a good data point before that, but Kate is my third speaker who is using Mobbin. So which is amazing. So I'm like, okay, but then it is it's totally working. And so in my head, Mobbin can not only help you with the inspiration during your day to day, but also like for example, if you were if you had some work and you don't have access to it, but you want to redesign your case study, that's when mobbing can be extremely useful, because you don't need to redesign, but you can just grab it and make it yours once again into a showcase, right? So you don't need to come in with an empty case study. For example, your work is under NDA, but you still want to show what you've got. So that is a great opportunity for you not to build it from scratch. So if you want to try it out, there is a link, and I finally got a small promotion for you guys. I believe it's 20% on the annual, because someone said that actually Mobbin is a great tool, but it's a little bit pricey for them. So I got back right away to the team and I was like, we want to make sure that people can use your product because it is great. So Kate, let us know, because we obviously discussed it, right? Like, how do you use Mobbin? What is your day to day? Because when we were prepping for this session, you were like, oh yeah, like that's actually a tool that I use. So what is your use case?
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, I can't imagine like how, I mean, of course, there are different options, but I really can't imagine how designers currently work without mobbing, because it's definitely a cool source of not just inspiration, but I mean, for me, it's actually like a cool research tool, because I go there not just, to I don't know, just see some like sleek designs and like UI elements, but mostly I'm interested in the like overall product logic behind some features and like overall like user experience. And Mobbin actually shows not just static screens. There are also like the entire flows that you can go through, and probably right now you can just check out some of the flows. um,
Yeah,
um,
I think it's somewhere here, because we basically we're doing. Oh, sorry,
yeah,
that's here.
yeah, there's
Gotcha.
here. So you can just open, like for example, like any flow, right? And there will be screens, and there will be these like prototype or video. So if you like above, a little bit
Yes.
above
Yes, sorry.
screens,
I
and
was
yes, and
literally
prototype.
watching it. I'm sorry.
So yeah, you can basically like see all the interactions behind this feature, which is really cool. And I mean, of course, like again, in my day-to-day work, I know like our like direct and indirect competitors, and if I can, I go to this like particular product and I logged in and like just go through all the flows like on my own. But there are lots of products that it's impossible to do that. You can't log in, and because you need to pay for that, and or it's just like B2B, so you just can't do that. And in that case, Mobbin actually also helps, because of course you won't be able to see like everything, but still you will be able to see at least some of the features built by this product. And also, like in my case, I mean, if I need something like just quickly to check, I will go to Mobbin. But at the same time, like recently, I started using Mobbin through Claude Code, because there is an option to connect Mobbin MCP. And basically, like how I work with this, like I know the feature that I need to build, so I know the problem, and I give this problem to Claude, and I also provide the context about this problem, and I ask it to like research examples in Mobbin. I can give like some, for example, particular products that I would like to check, or like just to find any other references. And I also ask to like give me like 3-5 possible like solution directions based on these references, with all like the pros and cons and like trade-offs. And it's really super easy, super cool, and it really helpful when you're especially when you're stuck with like what direction to choose. So it's super cool to see how other products have already solved this problem. And I mean, it's also like, I guess, like this final point I wanted to make, that is, it is super cool when you are able to have like all these screenshots,
Yeah.
I always put them in my exploration file because it's always way easier to communicate to stakeholders what are the pros and cons for this or that solution. Because, like, for example, like, take a look, like Lena does it that way, but in our case, it will not work because of that and that. But I don't know, Atio does it that way. So here it can work for us. We can reuse this pattern. So I guess it's also like kind of a cool option for using Mobbin.
That is crazy. I actually never thought about it, but indeed, you can literally like showcase how exactly it looks and feels, and you can literally choose on the spot. That is really smart. I love what you said about the MCP in terms of like, asking for pros and cons and trade-offs and like, seeing all of those things. I was like, what a smart way to build the case study. That is actually, I feel like we're onto something right now because that is incredible. Well, I don't have Mobbin on my laptop yet on my cloud because honestly, I've been spending so much time building that I don't actually do things that I need to do to like develop my business, because I got too much into it. But I also want to be mindful of time. I want to keep like the space for the Q&A. But what we're gonna do with Kate, I guess we're gonna summarize the use cases that we described. And Mobbin, so I'm in touch with Mobbin's, one of the co-founders, Joven, who is like an awesome, very passionate guy. And he has also shared, as you might have seen on the board, the video to YouTube where another creator actually explained how Cloud Code can be used with MCP. Because a lot of people ask me like, can you do like a show reel how to do that? I feel like I could, but I'm not a designer. Like you might not want me to explain you how Framer works, and the same with Mobbin. And that's why I'm asking all my awesome co-creators. But definitely check it out, and I'm gonna share it with everyone afterwards as well, because I just feel that more people should know the power of Mobbin. Okay, so we going forward with the Q&A. I can see a raised hand, so I will give. Yeah, please. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You can see me and hear me clearly, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for this session. Really insightful. And Kate, thanks for sharing your story and being vulnerable because I'm going through something similar and maybe I can write a book later on about that. But yeah, like, I mean, hats off to you for, dealing with all the things and then getting a job as well. So I had a couple of questions. First of all, Kate, like, did you target any specific industry like B2B, B2C, something like that?
I mean, of course, it's a smart move. But in my case, I didn't have like much options because I had like only one recent project, and I had to make the best out of it. So for me, it was just like this shot for all the gates. And but so like in my case it was also like I worked mostly in again like B2B and B2C, so I didn't have like any kind of preferences. So I can't say that I personally targeted something specific, but as far as I know, it is really great if you like have this option among your case studies, and if you really want to work, for example, for B2B, so you can just select like those case studies that are relevant to B2B sector, because in many cases this relevance really matters. And for example, like right now we are hiring at Nevis, and sometimes we receive portfolios with people who had like for example, like mobile experience or B2C. But in our case right now it's irrelevant, so we just need to like skip these portfolios and just try to find those who worked on very complex like B2B challenges, and preferably, of course, in like fintech. So, I mean, it's a challenge, but if you have the options, you definitely need to target specific audiences and specific domains. If you have some case studies, for example, like in fintech, B2B and you want to work in fintech and B2B, you definitely need to choose exactly these case studies and leave everything else like behind.
Understood. Just one follow-up question. Like, I understand, like, if I want to target B2B, I should show more like B2B case studies. But before that, what the first layer is for me is the visuals of the case study of the portfolio overall. So, like, I see many people, many designers are going on Claude Code and other AI tools to create these stunning visuals. But somehow, for some people, I find it not very relevant because they are not into motion design, but visually their portfolio
Mm,
looks like stunning. So how
mm.
to go about that thing? Like if I'm targeting B2B, is it relevant for me to design like visually truly stunning and with, a lot of motion, something like that?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting insight because I can't say that like motion is some like crucial part in your portfolio. I don't know, Lena, what do you think about it? Because I guess like for example, for me, I would actually even prefer if there is some like video or like uh, that like conveys like a lot of like lots of different like components of the feature. I definitely would prefer to see some static pictures because I want to like estimate the craft. I want to estimate like the UI as well because it's very important to understand that the designer not only have like strong user experience skills but also like UI skills. And usually with this motion, it might be difficult to see, like, and difficult to grasp. So I don't know. I mean, Lena has like more experience in reviewing portfolios, so maybe you can share a bit.
Yeah, in general, so folks, it always depends, right? Because not all of you have worked on beautiful products. So some of your products may not have good UI. And so that what also can shoot you in the foot when it's not like you shouldn't show it, but sometimes there is not that much opportunity to be like, oh, look at this beautiful product that I've designed because there were some restrictions, it didn't matter and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's where the UI of the portfolio and the motion, by the way, as well, comes together because that shows your taste. Also, people, we don't need to automate things anymore ourselves. Like, we can literally use tools. You know that there's this awesome website. I'm going to share it with all of you immediately because you can literally go to this website and then copy whatever animation you like and ask Claude Code to basically put it into your portfolio, and it does it for you. I know because I've done it, right? Like, and I know nothing about animation. So I think animation does create like a more holistic kind of picture. It engages, it inspires. In terms of animated prototypes, I personally prefer an animated prototype because so like for the portfolio for the application stage, right? Like animated prototype, once again, it hooks more attention. It shows that you understand how to do that. Like, in general, prototype, like 4 years ago, it was more complicated to create a prototype. So that was a skill that you were showing. Now everyone can do a prototype. You can literally download it from Mobin. So now it's not so relevant, but I think there is kind of like a balance being like, what are you trying to show? How beautiful you are of the product? Give me 3 frames and showcase what is exactly. Are you trying to show me that you've built a proper flow and it was better? Give me an animated prototype, right? So like, what is it that you're trying to tell me? With this, that's what's the most important in my opinion.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking right now as well. That if you want to show like the flow of the feature, it's like everyone will love the animation, the motion. But at the same time, don't just limit yourself with this animation. You still need to have like some static mock-ups because it will also valuable for hiring managers because you will never know what they will pay attention to.
Yeah.
Someone will pay attention to craft skills because they're like already have, I don't know, very strong user experience designers and they're looking for someone who is going, I don't know, to add more taste and like better feel and look to their product. So just use like all the options, but just make it concise and really like in a storytelling way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that also brings us very nicely. Like, I've seen so many like discussions in the chat being like, oh, but what do I show? And there are so many parts to the case study, and someone says this and someone that says that, and so how long does it need to be, and I'm cutting it but it's still too long. I mean, you will never find the perfect answer, right? Like, once again, is it scrollable? Can I scan through it and understand? You will never, by the way, be able to assess it unless you give it to people who are designers who can scan it and be like, okay, I kind of understood, I kind of didn't, right? So, like, that is the best that you can get in terms of the feedback. But I think it's always really, really important being like, what is it that I'm trying to explain? Like I'm building, for example, a new product right now. It's not a product design, but it's a product. And so now I'm building my pitch and I'm also building a website. And so I'm always asking myself, can a 10 years old child understand what I'm talking about? Like, it needs to be plain simple because we all overloaded. I just came from the meeting, and before that, the CPO told me that my budget is cut, and my designer told me that they're going to be quitting, right? And so I cannot actually rehire and replace, and now I need to understand what to do with this job. And then you come to me with your massive portfolio, and I cannot get what is it that you're trying to explain. I want to hire you, but you don't help me to hire you, And so that's how you need to think about it, that people have literally seconds to assess, like, how do you hook them? So give just enough. No one needs to see your iterations. No one needs to see your A/B tests, right? Like, per se, A/B test in the application stage. But I need to know that you did A/B test because that's great. We love designers who know how to do A/B tests, right? So, like, it's once again, it comes down to like pointing out to the right skill set rather than like trying to show and prove me. I definitely did it. Look at all these A/B tests that I've done, and look at all this data that I've gathered. I don't care. I will never read it. I will never read it, right? And that's why we all love to talk about our achievements, but like the only number that I'm talking about myself, for example, when I talk about myself, I always say I have 60,000+ community. I don't say, but here's there and here's there, and I'm this and I'm that. Like, no one cares. No one has time for it, right? But like, what is it like in the mass kind of, and that's what you should be doing with every case study. I build this, and that's why it's important, just like in the plain way. Kate, thank you so much. I mean, you've been incredible. Let's give applause to Kate. Yeah,
Thank you so
first
much.
off, and
Thank
how
you.
good was that? Thank you. Honestly, a lot of amazing insights, and I hope you don't mind, but I will make a post about you because I think it was incredible. It was really, really inspiring, and I'm sure everyone took something for themselves. And folks, thank you so much for staying on the call. I'm going to be following up tomorrow with everything that we have discussed, right? And so if you have any questions or anything like that, you know where to find me. Just DM me. And please do DM Kate and tell her what you've learned and what you liked. And if someone is going to be going and checking Nevis's open jobs, make sure that they know that you came from us. So let them know and give them beautiful portfolios of yours. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck. And we're going to see each other in 2 weeks again. And thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
evening. Bye. Or
Bye
day.
bye. Thank you.